Hello there. Welcome back to Principles of Accounts O level, Zimsec. We are back again in preparation of our paper two. Today we want to look at a question on suspense account. So the first part of the question requires us to prepare the journal entries, and then we also need to prepare suspense account. Then we prepare corrected trial balance after correction of the errors. So basically, we know the importance of suspense account is to correct errors that has caused the trial balance not to balance. Remember, we have got those errors that do not affect the balancing of a trial balance. Those errors are not corrected by a suspense account. Error of omission, error of original entry, we've got the transposition error, error of principle. Those are some of the errors that do not affect the balancing of the trial balance. And these errors are not corrected by the suspense account. In suspense account, we only correct errors that affect the balancing of the trial balance. E.g., we have got arithmetical errors, that is addition and subtraction. Maybe one of the accounts has been wrongly added or wrongly subtracted in terms of the balances at the end. We need to prepare a suspense account. So those typical errors, and also those errors that are one entry errors that are not double entries, also are corrected by a suspense account, whereby you are supposed to debit and credit according to double entry, then you only debit one account. We need a suspense account. So those are the errors that we want to correct here in the suspense. But before that, we need to correct to effect the journal entries. So we go through the question and then answer the questions that follow. The question reads: A medium prepared the following trial balance from the ledger balances on 30 June 2014. Unfortunately, the totals are disagreed, and she opened a suspense account for the difference. So we've got a trial balance that we are given there on the list of balances. Then what is important is our additional information. Uh, uh, then we are given additional information in terms of a sale of layer for 394 was correctly entered in the sales day book, but wrongly posted to Mulea's account. So these are the errors that we have. They are from 1 to 5. And then let's go to the required part. The required part is saying journal entries to correct the above errors. And then in brackets, narratives not required. Remember, after making a journal entry, we have to close it. But before you close it, you have to narrate in terms of you're just narrating what is the double entry that you have effected on top in terms of if it's a correction of entry, in terms of that correction of entry. So in this case, we do not have to narrate. So we just have to show which one to debit, which one to credit. And then we move on to the next journal entry. But it's very important to close a journal entry after you have effected it. So we can go to our answer section and see what we have. So this is going to be our the layout of our journal entries, whereby we're going to have this one representing debit side and this one credit side. So every correction there, we are going to post it there on the debit and credit. Right. If you come here, if you come to the account that we have got a sale. Let's look at the first error. A sale to Mulea of 394 was correctly entered in the sales day book, but wrongly posted to Mulea account as at 349. So what does it mean? It means the day book was correct. If you check there, the day book was correct. So it means our sales account is going to be also correct. The figure that is going to go to the figure that is going to go to the sales account will be correct. And remember, the sales account, we credit it and then we debit the data's account. And then the only mistake is in one data, which is Mulea, and 349 instead of 394. So a smaller figure was inserted there in Mulea account. So we have got an understatement. The figure was understated. We put 349 instead of 394. So what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to see the difference that we have And if we check that the difference there, we can find it by saying 394, then we subtract 349. So when you calculate that, you are going to get 45. So it means we understated the Mlayer's account with 45, but basically Mlayer is a data here. Mlayer is supposed to be debited. So it means we are going to put 45 on the debit side of Mlayer. And this error is going to affect the balancing of the trial balance because 349 has been entered on the debit side of Mlayer only. And you are seeing that credit side has got a correct figure of 394. So we are only going to put this 45 on the debit side of Mlayer so that the amount of 349 we adjust it to the correct amount of 39. The amount of 349 we adjusted to the correct amount of 394. So that's what we have. So we're going to debit Mlayer, and obviously when we debit Mlayer, we have corrected, but then the opposite end now, or the corresponding end, we are going to credit Suspense. So for one there, let's try to see here. The correction is that we debit Mlayer with the difference 45, and then we credit Suspense, since this is going to affect the balancing of the trial balance with 45 again. So that's what we are going to do. So go to the answer section and just summarize that double entry. If you come here, you see that Mlayer, we start with the debit entry. We've got M Mlayer, and then we debit M Mlayer with 45. We debit M Mlayer with 45 there, and then obviously you're going to credit Suspense with 45. So that's what we have in terms of first error. And obviously we need to close the general entry and we go to the next one. We go back. The next one is saying Turo private expenses. Turo private expenses have been debited to general expenses account. You see now, this was supposed to be debited. This is private expenses. So whenever we get private expenses or private withdrawals, we call them drawings. So the account that was supposed to be debited there is drawings. We were supposed to debit drawings there. So you see that what we are supposed to do now, we are supposed to remove the amount from general expenses. Remember, we debited general expenses by mistake instead of debiting the drawings account. So we need to take the amount that is in the general expenses account and input it in the drawings account. So the scenario that we have is that on the general expenses account, we have an amount of 600 on the debit side. That's what the scenario that we have there. So to remove it, we go to the credit side and put it there. We are removing it, and then we enter it now in the correct amount, which is correct account, which is the drawings account. And then we open a drawings account now. Then we debit this 600. So this area is not going to affect the balancing of a trial balance, but we are going to show it in the. We are going to show it in the. We are going to show it in the journal entries. We'll show it in the journal. So the double entry that we have there is that we are going to we are going to remove this. We are going to remove this 600 from the general expenses, and then we are going to debit the correct amount, the correct account, which is drawings, and then we credit. We remove it from the general expenses account. Remove it from the general expenses account. So that's what we have. Because remember, it's on the debit side of the general expense. So we credit general expense, then we debit drawings. And we are saying this is not going to affect the balance of the trial balance. So we are not correcting this error using Suspense. So we can go on the journal entries part and summarize that working. Remember, we are debiting drawings. So drawings is the account that amount was supposed to be with 600, and then we credit general expense. With 600. So that's what we have in terms of that error. Then obviously we are closing off if after finishing the journal entry. We are supposed to close, so we can close that journal entry. Right. Then we move on to the next error that we have in the question. The next error is saying a standing order for $300 for payment of electricity bill had been posted to the wrong side of the bank account, but correctly to the general expenses account. So in this case, you can take the position that was supposed to be the correct position that was supposed to be there. If we check now, let's try to see there the correct position that was supposed to be there. So you'd see that this is a standing order. A standing order is money that is being withdrawn from our bank account. So our bank is obviously was supposed to be credited. So this was the correct position. Credit bank, and then a standing order, but of electricity bill had been posted to the wrong side of the bank account, but collected to the general expenses account. So general expenses account, we debit now the general expenses account. This was the correct entry that was supposed to be done. But what was entered was that on the bank account part, it was posted to the wrong side of the bank account. So the correct side was the credit, so it was on the debit. So you can say if you take our bank account, this 300 was on the debit. So this error is affecting the balancing of a trial balance, because this amount was supposed to be on the credit, but it was posted to the debit side. So our trial balance is not going to balance. So by correcting it now, we need to remove the 300. This is now the correction part. The 300 here on the credit side. When we put 300 on the credit side, we are going to take this balance back to 0. 300 minus 300 is 0. Then we enter the correct amount now, which is supposed to be on the credit side. So we're going to enter in the bank account on the credit side twice. So basically 300 plus 300 is 600. So we're going to put 600 on the credit side of the bank. Then obviously, if it's affecting the balancing of trial balance, the opposite entry now is going to be on the opposite side of the suspense. So we go to the debit side of suspense and debit. So in terms of correction of this error, let's see what we are supposed to do now. We are supposed to say debit suspense, and then we credit bank. That's error number 3. Error number 3. This is the correction of the in terms of the journal entry. So we're just going to summarize that one. If you come here now, we are seeing that suspense is being debited with a double amount, which is 600, and then we credit a bank 600. So that's what we have in terms of this error. Then we can check on the next error again. If you come here, the next error is saying the purchase day book had been undercast by 400. So basically, this term of saying undercast means a smaller figure was put. The opposite is true when you say overcast. Overcast, we are saying a bigger figure of the correct figure was put. So here we've got an undercast. It means the purchase day book had been we had a smaller figure being put by over 400, and we are going to see that this error is going to affect only the purchases account. This error is only going to affect the purchases account, and it's going to affect the balancing of a trial balance, because this when it was undercast, it means the total figure in the purchase table was the one that was incorrect, but the individual accounts when they were posted to the ledger, they were correct. So the purchases account is the only which is wrong there. So to correct it now, we need to put the difference, which is 400 on the table. Remember, the purchase account is a normal debit balance. If you are saying the purchase day book with the undercast, so the total of the purchase day book will be posted to the purchase account. So the purchases account was undercast by 400. It means we have got a smaller figure on the debit side of the purchases account. So we need to, this is the purchases account. So we've got a smaller figure here on the debit side. So we need to put the 400, which is missing. And obviously the opposite entry, we are going to the suspense now. We are going to the suspense, and also go to the opposite side and enter 400. So basically, if you look at this, the double entry here, we are saying we are debiting purchases. We are debiting purchases, and then we are crediting suspense. We are crediting suspense. So this is the double entry that we have, and obviously the amount that we have there is 400. So you have 400 here, and also here you have 400. So that's what we have. So you can go and summarize that double entry on the answer section. So if you come here, we are now saying purchases 400, and obviously this is going to affect our suspense. So our suspense now on the credit side, we also put our 400. So that's what we have in terms of that error. So it means in terms of errors, we are going to put all the errors, whether it's going to affect the trial balance, balancing with trial balance or not. We put all the errors in terms of correcting in the journal entries. But now when we go to the suspense, we are only going to select those that are affecting the balancing of the trial balance. So if you go to the next error, let's try to see what we have next. If you come here, we see the last one is saying a purchases. Let's try to see this one. Right, the last one is saying a purchases credit balance of $360 for Zanu had been omitted from the trial balance. It's saying a purchase ledger credit balance of $360 for Zanu had been omitted from the trial balance. So basically there we are given a hint that this is a credit balance that was omitted. So we need to credit. We need to post the credit balance of Zanu to the trial balance, and obviously this is going to affect the balancing of the trial balance because it's just a balance that was omitted. So we need to put that balance of Zanu on the credit side of the trial balance, and then we also enter the opposite entry since it's affecting suspense. The opposite entry will be now in the suspense account. So we're going to debit suspense, and obviously we credit the account that has been omitted. The balance that is omitted is for Zanu. So that's and obviously our amount there remains 360. So that's what we are going to do. So we go back there and enter that one. So here we are saying we are debiting suspense, and we are debiting with 360. And obviously we have Zanu on the credit side, and it's 360. We close it. We are seeing that this is our last error that we have. So it means this marks the end of our suspense account. Sorry, of our journal entries. So the next item that is needed in the question, we can go to the question and check. We have got the suspense account now, starting with the difference from the trial balance. So let's check the difference from the trial balance that we have. This is our trial balance, and the difference is we are going to see that the difference that we have there, we have a difference that is there of suspense. This is the difference. This represents the difference, and the difference is here. 515 is on the credit side. So when it is like this, we just carry this amount and put it on the credit side of the suspense account as a balance BT. So we are going to start with this balance in the suspense on the credit side, since it's on the credit side on the trial balance. But in other questions, you will be given the totals, maybe the total of the debit was, and then the total of the credit was. So you check which side the smaller figure, the smaller total. That's where the side that we are going to start with in suspense. If the debit side is the smaller figure, so you go to the debit side of suspense, you say balance BT, and then you calculate the difference and put it there. So that's what we're going to do. So here we are just going to carry this on the credit side and write balance BT for suspense. So we are going to do this here. We are now going to the second part of the question. Second part of the question is here, and we are saying we are starting on the credit. So we can say balance BT here. And our balance BT, which it was 515. And then when we have done this, it becomes simple for us. So what we are going to do, we are just going to go to the journals and pick where we have suspense. You go where our journal entries are starting. You see we have 45 for suspense on the credit side. So we are going to go to the suspense and go to the credit side of suspense, since you are crediting suspense. And then you are going to write this other, the name of the other account, which is Emulea, on the credit side of the suspense. So let's take 45 and do what, and do that. 45, go to the credit side of suspense and put 45. Credit side of the suspense, and now we are saying 45. And we know that the other entry in that journal was Emulea. So we are going to say Emulea. You do the same thing to other accounts there that are affecting suspense in the journal. You see that with that 45. After 45, we are seeing that here we do not have any that is affecting suspense. There's no suspense being affected here. We skip that one. We come here, we have got suspense here on the debit side. So you go to the debit side of the suspense and put the 600, and you write on the details part, you write the name of the other account is bank. So that's what we have there on that that one. Then you can also pick this one. We have suspense on the credit side, and we are going to go to the credit. We go to the credit and put suspense 400, and you put the other name of the account, which is a purchase account. But we are on the credit side, so we can go and maybe put the 600 and the 400. So the 600 we are saying is on the debit, and we are saying it's bank, and it's 600. Then we also have the other one. The other one was, let's check the other one after 600. Right, the other, let's say we have 400 on the 400 on the credit. You're going to the credit side, and we are going to put 400 and its purchases, and then we go to the debit. We are going to put Zanu, and it's 360. So we that's the how we are going to enter that one. So if you come here, we are saying purchases here, and then we say 400. Then here you come to the debit side, and we are going to say Zanu, and say 360. Right. That's what we have. So now, after we have finished, was this one of 360 is the last one in the suspense account. If you can check, you see we have that 360 is the last one. So after you've entered them all that we've in the journals, so your reference, you are now in suspense, is to go to the journals and pick all the journals that are affecting suspense. So the total that you are supposed to get, the total that you are supposed to get on the credit side should be the same with the total that you get on the debit side. That's how we suspend account will balance. So if you add the total of the debit, the answer that you get should be the same with the total of the credit. There's no balance CD in suspense account. We don't carry any balance with the next financial period. So here you're just going to put our double lines. And what we are saying is if you add 600 and 360, the total that you get, it should be the same total as you add the 550 plus 45 plus 400. So let's do that. 600 plus 360, here you're going to get 960. So if you add 515 plus 45 plus 400, you also get 960. So this total, you are seeing this total is the same as this total. So this suspense is balanced. Then we go to the last part of the question. The last part of the question requires us to prepare the trial balance now with the correct figures. So what we are going to do, we are going to go to the old balance that we are given in the question, and we go balance by balance. And if it has an error, we have to correct that error and put the correct figure. So we start with capital. Let's start with capital, and we check if we have got anything that is affecting capital, and we can only see that if you go to the journal entries. If you come to the journal entries here, you would see that here, that's where you are going to see whether we've got an error that is affecting any of the entries. So here we are starting with capital. So you come to the journal entries and go through all the journal entries to check if capital was affected there, and you see that there is no capital being affected. So if you have just such a scenario, it means you take the figure that you are having in the trial balance and put the figure as it is in the corrected trial balance. So for capital, we are going to go to the trial balance that we are correcting. This is now a corrected trial balance. Remember, this is a corrected trial balance. So for capital, and it's 1 July 2000. 1 July 2003, if I'm not mistaken. Let's just check there. The capital is 1 July 2003, and it's 22,409. So since we do not have any corrections of the capital, we're going to take this figure and put it as it is in the corrected trial balance. 22,409 on 1 July 2003. 1 July 2003, and it's on the credit side. It's 22,409. Then you go to the next balance in the old trial balance. We have drawings 15,200. So you go to the journal entries again to check if drawings were affected. So you come back there to the journal entries and check if drawings were affected. So you'd see that drawings were affected here. Drawings were affected here. We debited drawings. And also, when you are correcting these errors, you should know the normal side of an account. E.g., here we are looking at drawings. We know that drawings is debited, so it's got normal debit balance. So when it's being debited, we are adding. But when we credit it, it will be a subtraction. In all accounts, know the normal entry. But basically, what we know is that for all assets and expenses, we can just summarize it as assets, revenue. Sorry, let's say assets, and then we have expenses, expenses, drawings. All this have got they've got debit balance. these ones will be having debit balance. So you know that when these accounts are debited, it's a plus, but when they are credited, it's a minus. So that's what happens. Then those that have credit, no more credit balances, we've got liabilities. Liabilities. We also have capital, income or income, discount received, rent received, their incomes, they have a normal credit balance. We have another one that we can put there. We also have sales as a common account. Sales also is credited. So what happens with these accounts when they are credited? It's a positive, it's a plus, but when they're debited, it's a minus. So this is the starting point that we can use so that we are not confused. So if you come here, we see that drawings is a normal debit balance and it's being debited, so it's a plus. So we are going to add to drawings the figure for drawings that we are given there. And if you come here, the figure for drawings that we have is 15,200. So we are going to add that 600. We are going to add that 600 to get the net figure that we are going to put there. So we come here. So we are saying the next one is drawings. So we are saying drawings. And we are saying we have 15,200 and add the 600 that has been debited in the journals. Then we get 15,800. It's supposed to be here. 15,800. Then we check on the next entry that we have after drawings. Right, after drawings, we've got trade receivables. These are debtors. They have a normal debit balance. They are assets. So we check if we've got a data that has been affected there. We check if we've got a data that has been affected. Go again up to check. Data, we see that emulator is a data, and we have debited, and we are saying a data is a normal debit balance. So when we debit it, it's a plus. So this 45, we are supposed to add it to the data's balance that we have, or the trade receivable balance. So we are going to say 45 plus the trade receivable balance that we have. If you come here, trade receivable balance is 16,500. So we are going to add 45. We are going to add 45 there. So we go up to the corrected trial balance again. So we are going to say the figure that we are given there for trade receivables. In the trial balance, we are given 16,500. And we add the 45 in our journal entries. And we get 16,545. Then we check the next accounts that we have. We have cash at bank. Cash at bank, we go back. Here we have cash at bank. And cash at bank is an asset, so it's no more debit balance. And the amount that we have is 7,474. And we go again to check if it is being affected. The cash at bank, we check on the journal entries if we've got any entry that we corrected using bank. Right. You see that we have that one here, whereby we credited the bank. And we are saying bank is a normal debit balance, and here it's being credited, so it's a minus. So we are going to subtract 600 from the figure that we have was of 7,474 for cash at bank. So we go back again. We go back again. There we've got cash at bank. So what we are going to do there, we are going to say we have 7,000 in the old trial balance, 474, and we is going to subtract this one in the journal entries, which is 600. And the net figure that we get is 6,000. 6,874. Then after cash and bank, we check what we have. We have fixtures and fittings, 8,400. So you see that in the areas that we have, we do not have anything that is affecting fixtures and fittings. So you can just put 8,400. So here we've got fixtures and fittings. Fixtures and fittings, the amount that we have is 8,400. So this one is a non-current asset, so it comes on the debit side. And then we go to the next one that we have in the question. We have inventory 11,730, and again we do not have anything that is affecting inventory in the question, so we are going to put that one 11,730. Here we've got inventory 11,730, and then we are moving down to the next one. Then from inventory we can check again what we have next. From inventory we've got trade payables 5,540, and you see that on trade payables we do have something that is affecting trade payables. We go to the journal entries and see what do we have that is affecting trade payables. Right. We have that credit balance here. Zanu is a creditor, and the 360 here was omitted as a balance. So we need to add this balance that was omitted on the trade payables part. Remember, Zanu is a creditor, and the creditor is credited. Trade payable is a normal credit balance. So when we're crediting, we are adding. So we are going to add 360 to the amount of trade payables that we have. Right. So that's what we have on trade payables. So you're just here going to say trade payables, and the figure that we are given in the list of balances is 5,540. Then we add the 360 that was omitted, and then we get 5,900, and this one comes on the credit. It's a current liabilities, the liabilities what comes on the credit. So after trade payables, we also check what we have. You see that after trade payables, we've got sales. And we see that in the balance, in the corrections that we have, we do not have anything that is affecting sales, and the figure that we have for sales is 194,240. So here now we have sales, and it's on the credit side, 194,240. Right. We check the next balance that we have after sales. We've got purchases. But on purchases, you would see that we have something that is affecting the purchases. There, we go again in the journal entries and see what we have in terms of purchases. Right, on purchases, here we debited purchase, and purchases has got no more debit balance. So when you debit it, we are adding. So it's a plus 400, the figure that we have of purchases. And if you check the figure for purchases there, it's here 151,600, and then we are going to add that one, the 400. And then we add the 400. So here we are saying purchases. So on purchases, we are saying 151,600. Then we add our 400. And the purchases normal debit balance total comes here is 152,000. And lastly, I think we've got the last figure that we have there. Let's check. We have got general expenses is the last figure, 11,800. This is the suspense difference, so it's not entered in the corrected now because we have now corrected, so there's no need for the suspense to enter the suspense again. So this one does not appear in the corrected trial balance. So general expenses, we got 11,800, but we know that we've got that entry of general expenses that we corrected. So it's we can check the amount. So general expenses. So you can check that correction that we made for general expenses. Right, general expenses. Right, it's here. We credited general expenses here with 600, and general expenses is an expense. So it's got no more debit balance. So when you credit it, we are doing the opposite. We are subtracting. So it's a negative 600. So we can go there and make that adjustment. All right. So what we are going to do now on general expenses, we know that the figure that we have in the trial balance for general expenses is here. It's 100. Sorry, it's 11,800, and then we are subtracting that 600. So you can just go and summarize that one. 11,000. Yeah, with 11,800. Then we subtract the 600. And the figure that we are going to get there is 11,200. So that is what we have, guys, in terms of the corrections. And then when you add the debit now, you are supposed to get the same figure with the total of the credit. And we say we corrected correctly. So if you add the debit the year, you're going to get 222,549. So that's the same figure that you are going to get when you add the total of the credit, which is 222,549. So this shows that we have correctly corrected the trial balance. So that's what we have, guys, in terms of the suspense account. I hope this is going to be beneficial to you as you prepare for exams. I wish you the best once again, and we'll meet again in the next video. But those who haven't subscribed, please subscribe and share. We are still coming, as we have a few days left for the paper 2, but we are still coming. Stay tuned for more videos that might be helpful for us as we prepare for the final exam. With that, I'm signing out, and we'll meet again.